NFL draft recap. Obviously, we made our mock draft. I felt a little more confident in us than
I told us. You said 15.
I felt confident. I thought 15. We were going
good. 14 and a half was the line. So 14 and under, 15 or more. And I mean, that's less
lower.
That's us. That's basically us getting
less than
44% of the draft.
I said, yeah.
We just had to get 44% of the draft right.
I said less than 14 and a half. Y'all two both went
over.
Yeah,
we both went over.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out for us taking
it. Wasn't just us either. I mean, there was like a 36% group of people that said, hey, I think they're going to go over. I think they're going to make that. So it wasn't just Alex and I, but
of those who voted, 36.
It's hard with the NFL draft because there's so many random trades that happen.
Well, that's the thing. Like this year, it was kind of interesting. This year, people were saying like, the line was a little bit higher. There's typically 2 trades in the first round, I think is what the average is what I heard. And this year there was 5. And people actually kind of called that going into it. There was a 3.5 line on the trade bet. Like the actual bet in Vegas was 3.5 trades. So if you took the over, congratulations, you won money.
It's just like little things that happened. Like it was fairly obvious Dallas's first pick in the first round was going to be
a cornerback.
Some sort of corner.
Yeah.
Well, the 2 teams before them drafted the 2 corners that Dallas was eyeing, and then Dallas was like, you know what? Screw this pick. We're trading. We're going to try to get something. You tried to recover. Well, kind of do damage control.
Well, we didn't. I don't think we did damage control. We traded back because we knew we could still get who we wanted.
I don't think you knew who you wanted. Just from an outside perspective, I think that Dallas made that move because Philadelphia called and said, hey, we're interested in moving up. We really want to go get Devonta Smith. And you guys, we're probably planning on taking Surtain or Horn. We're probably happy with either one of them and said, you know what, fine. That gives us a little bit more time to figure out who we want.
So, I mean, at that point in time, Penei Sewell was off the board.
Oh, yeah.
Slater was off the board. So, like, the 2 top offensive linemen were also off the board. Mm-hmm. The top 2 corners we were probably looking at were off the board. And so, at that point, Chris texted me, was like, hey, how do you think y'all about taking a linebacker? I was like, we don't need it. And I'll be damned if at the 12th pick we didn't take Micah Parsons.
Yeah. Who we were drooling over in our last video, by the way.
I think that was a great pickup for you guys.
Yeah. Which, if you had to go defensive
player, that's a great pickup.
Well, on paper, they said this is probably the best defensive player in this draft.
It is. It's not a question to me.
And so, but now, if you look at the Dallas linebacking core, on paper, we probably have the best and quickest linebacker core in the league.
Well, now that the man of glass is retired.
Well, Sean wasn't in that. I mean, it was
Mr. Concussion is gone.
Well, we replaced Mr. Hamstring with Mr. Broke Neck in Vander Esch.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
you got a lot. You got a lot of talent at linebacker, and I mean, I think that's kind of one of the reasons that Dallas was comfortable with. I tell you, Slater wasn't off the board by then. By the way, Slater went at 11. So,
we picked at 12.
Yeah, but I mean, at 10, you could have took him if y'all were interested.
Yeah,
I don't think Jerry Jones and company were ever interested in offensive linemen.
Not till late. Based off the way we drafted, it looks like defense was our focus this draft because we only took a receiver and I think 2 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
One out of Marshall and then one late in the round.
You took the boy Izzy Akwamu. Took the boy in the 6th round, 6'4". I'm telling you right now, this guy, like, Israel is cool and all, but the man has been literally avoiding playing safety his entire life.
He's going to be playing safety.
And he's going to be playing safety for Dallas. I mean, he chose South Carolina because Will Muschamp told him he could play corner. And then, we let him play corner. And then he learns how to play safety a little bit this past year because of, hamstring injuries and stuff like that. And then finally, I mean, hate to say it, they're switching that man to a safety. And he could be a really good safety. I mean, he's 6'4", 212.
Yeah,
like,
he's a big boy.
He could be a really good safety. So.
He's a big corner. Would make, I think, a very good, stronger free safety.
But, yeah, so over-under was 14.5. Ended up with only getting 6 right. We look like some idiots, but it's okay.
So we got what? The first 2 right?
We got the first 2 right. We said a lot of things. Like we said in the video, you can go back and watch it. We got evidence of it. We said it's Trey Lance or Mac Jones. Ended up being Trey Lance. We said when we got to 5, it's Penei Sewell or it's Jamar Chase. The thing was trending that Jamar Chase was starting to become the hot name just because of the Joe Burrow connection. Jamar Chase goes, right?
But we went with Penei Sewell.
Well, in our mock draft because of us looking at the other experts.
Saying, we said it was going to be one of the 2, but we just those 2 picks back to back. We gave you 2 options for each one. We ended up just picking the wrong option.
Yeah. And I mean, we got to 6, and we said, I said that I didn't think there was any way in the world Penei Sewell was getting past 6 at Miami because I mean, Tua needs a left tackle, and if it wasn't
because they traded away, I thought they picked up is it Tunsil, Laremy Tunsil?
Yeah, they did, but Mr. Gas Mask is pretty much not as good as people thought he was, but. I mean,
it's a good reference right there. Everybody understands.
Yeah, if you don't understand,
it did go viral on Twitter again. Come draft day last week.
Literally, yeah.
Did it really?
Yeah. It popped back up on Twitter.
Yeah. So
and they're like,
dude's not gonna be able to live that one down.
They're like, throwback. Let's think about Laremy Tunsil today. It was his picture.
Whew. Yeah.
Struggling.
Yeah. But I mean, I said
I wouldn't say he's struggling, but
I said, I didn't think
his character's struggling. That's about it.
Yeah. We thought there's no way Penei Sewell gets past 6 or it was going to be Devonta Smith. Ended up being Jalen Waddle. I mean, they like Jalen Waddle better than Devonta Smith from Miami. And I mean, that's Tua played with both of them. Tua probably has a pretty good perspective of who he wants. So, but I think the shock was really that the Panthers drafted J.C. Horn. I mean, that was kind of
the first corner or the first defensive player.
As DB1, first defensive player.
Yeah.
It was also earlier in the first round than anybody expected to see a defensive player like that to go.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many needs.
It almost kind of like that. I want to know what the Panthers saw. Like, I'm not saying J.C. Horn is a bad player at all. I'm just saying it was just they may have jumped the gun by like a few picks, but if they wanted a DB, that was the only one shot to do it.
Yeah, listening to a little bit of the radio, following the first round that very next day, that Friday, it was like. People said that you can really tell that the teams didn't get to interact with players as much. Like, obviously, we didn't have the combine, so you didn't get to have all of these players, in front of. So it's basically, coaches and scouts and who got to put eyes on players and the people that you felt comfortable. Like, if you saw them in person, you felt comfortable drafting them in the first round. Yeah. And that's what you saw basically happen with a lot of these teams.
A few years ago, I want to say it was Myles Garrett, but I could be wrong. When Belichick was talking to the player at the combine, and he was coaching him through the thing, and it was one of the linemen, and he was like, "Man, you're a hell of a player. Ain't no way in hell I'm seeing you back at 30."
No, it was Mike Tomlin to Chase Young.
It was Mike Tomlin to Chase Young at Washington. He said,
"That's what it was." Yeah,
Mike said, "I hope I'm never in a position to draft a player of your caliber."
Yeah.
He goes,
but it's those interactions when they're all together, the combines, and seeing that
But
you
that
can
was
get a more accurate representation of when players are going to go because.
But that was like during the season, though. That was during the season when that interaction occurred.
No, see, I think something different. Bill Belichick also said the same thing. I'm gonna look it up.
Mike Tomlin and Chase Young had the same.
Oh, you're right. You are right. That was
during the season.
Yeah, it was something that Bill said. I think Bill said it to one of the quarterbacks that was like throwing around. I think it might have been Andrew Luck he was talking to.
But Tomlin said the thing to Chase Young. He was like, pretty much saying, "I'm never."
Yeah, because it was on the sideline. Miles Garrett like him run over, and he was like, "I hope I'm in a position to draft somebody like you, man."
Yeah.
Not saying because he's a bad player, but saying my team finished so bad I could get somebody as good.
Yeah, my team has to win basically 3 games for me to be able to get somebody of that caliber. But I mean, you saw like Matt Rule came down to South Carolina and watched J.C. Horn. I don't think he actually got to see Patrick Surtain in person. Mm-hmm. So he felt more comfortable with J.C. Horn. He put eyes on that guy. Same thing, and this is still not a great pick for me. I thought this is the biggest reach of all. But the Alex Leatherwood pick at 17 for the Raiders. I mean,
but yet somehow they turned around in round number 2 and still got Trayvon Moehrig, the safety.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess what everybody was saying was Leatherwood was probably a second-round guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And most people were saying Trayvon was a first-round guy. Like, he was going to be the first safety taken. And nobody took a safety in the entire first round. So, I mean, several corners ended up going, but it was just, it was interesting.
Wow.
It was interesting how, some of this kind of played out compared to the experts. So come next year, I really think we'll sit down and we'll make our own. We'll just
our own mock draft.
Yeah, we'll figure. We'll put it in our own perspective because obviously we can do just as good as the professionals can because the professionals basically got 6 right. So
we also did call the Teddy Bridgewater trade out of Carolina.
We did call the Teddy Bridgewater trade. I think that was Alex actually that personally said there's no way that the Panthers are going to hold on to all of these quarterbacks.
Yeah, I said the only reason they're doing that is because it's trade bait. It's for something. I think trade bait is the actual word I said in the video.
Yeah.
So I remember us talking that Teddy could be on the way out with Sam Darnold and them. potentially wanting.
And then what was it the day before the draft?
Yeah, something like that.
The day before the draft.
Yeah, and I mean the Jets ended up trading we were pretty hot on the Greg Newsome pick, and the Jets ended up trading back, I think, if I remember right, and Cleveland ended up taking Greg Newsome, so he still went first round, kind of where we thought he was going to go. We nailed the Pittsburgh pick. I mean, we said it was Najee Harris, and I mean that was pick
it was one of
24.
Things, so yeah, it was one of those things like we knew at 24 Pittsburgh was drafting, and we talked about on the show, and we talked about before going into it, watching it at my house. We were like, if it gets to pick 19 or 18, and he's not gone, there's no chance he's getting picked because the teams between 18 and 24, they needed something other than running back. They did not need a running back.
Yeah.
There was
no reason did we get the Kwity Paye pick right? Do we remember, or did he go later than we?
No, we had him going
in the 20s though, right?
No, we had him going to the Vikings, and the Vikings ended up trading back, and Kwity ended up getting picked by Indianapolis. We said that Indy was going to take a defensive end. We said it was going to be Russo from Miami. It ended up being Kwity Paye.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but when we said Kwity was going to go, what number was it when we said? And then
it was 13. He ended up going.
He went in the 20s, I thought.
21.
Yeah.
Okay,
21. So he did fall a little bit more.
Yeah, he fell a bit.
He pulled a Brady Quinn.
And I mean, what ended up happening is that Brady Quinn.
No, he didn't pull a Brady Quinn. He's going to be better than Brady Quinn.
What ended up happening basically is that you saw, and most of those defensive ends were very interchangeable. It was kind of depending on what team liked them the best. You ended up seeing Jalen Phillips go a little bit higher. Greg Russo went, and then Kwity Paye went, and surprisingly, I mean, Zach Collins actually went a little bit higher than we were projecting him. We had him going to Green Bay later, and Collins went 16 at Arizona.
So the best thing watching it with Christian and Zach, both of them being Green Bay fans.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
They were both in the living room saying,
I've got so many questions for Zach on his professional sports.
Anything but a corner, anything but a DB, anything, literally anything. It could have been a kicker, and they would have been on. They would have been. What do? They take Eric Stokes out of Georgia.
And what's the saddest part?
He's not even the best corner out of Georgia alone.
Exactly. I mean, immediately, the think about Jacksonville. The moment the first round ended, Jacksonville was like, "Yep, we're taking Tyson Campbell. We're done. All right, we'll go to bed, guys. We'll go ahead and plan our third round pick." I mean, it was immediately they were like, all right, this guy felt. I mean, not only Green Bay didn't choose the best corner on the board, they didn't choose the best corner from the same damn school.
Yeah.
So I mean, they wanted anything but a corner, and I'll be damned if they did. And I laughed so hard when Eric Stokes came up, and they were like, "Well, fuck," and just turned the TV off and walked out.
I mean,
what was it then?
It's bad. It's bad for Green Bay.
We were giving Devin a little bit of crap about Cleveland.
Because Devin
did the same thing the first round too, didn't they?
No. I mean, they kind of did what Devin wanted a lot. Like Devin wanted Zach Collins, which was never going to happen, and then he wanted Jeremiah Owusu, the linebacker from Notre Dame, who we also did have going in the first round, but ended up falling to the second round. Jeremiah Komoe Owusu or whatever. Yeah. It's a three hyphen name.
Well, Devin also wanted the damn Penn State.
Oh, Micah! Yeah, he wanted Micah Pearsons.
we were like, "There's no shot in hell he's falling all the way back."
I was like, Devin, this guy
Parsons was not going past 20th.
When it got a 10, I told Devin, I was sitting right next to him. I said, "Dallas will take this man." No, they're not taking this man. Blah blah blah. And they traded back. I was like, okay, maybe they're not. Get back at 12. I was like, nah, Dallas is probably actually taking this guy. I mean, there was no way this guy's falling to 26. And then he's praising for Zach Collins. He wants to rush outside linebacker for Tulsa. I'm like, Devin, that man's going 16 to Arizona. Like, I actually stood there as Arizona got ready to pick. I was like, they're taking Zach Collins. It made sense. He's a 3-4 rush outside linebacker. I mean,
fit their scheme.
It fits their scheme.
Right into their scheme.
Yeah. And what do? They take him. And then he's wanting Jeremiah. He gets the chance to get him there, but they let him slide. They ended up taking Greg Newsome. He was happy with it. I mean, he knows.
It was a solid pick.
Yeah, Greg Newsome's a very good corner. I mean, he's arguably 4th or 5th corner, in the draft. So
who did they have listed as like the third best corner?
Caleb Farley.
Oh yeah, that's right, the Virginia Tech guy.
Ended up being number 3.
What was the draft pick that I called? Do you remember? We kind of made a big deal about it. It was something about
like on the day of the draft, or like
no,
we were in the living room. I'm trying to remember it.
Popped up and I was like, oh, I guarantee they're taking this player. It was kind of a little bit off the wall, but it wasn't too far.
It wasn't Chicago moving up. We all called the Mac Jones call.
Was it Detroit taking?
I swear, was it not me calling Micah Parsons going to Dallas?
I don't think so. I think it was you. I think he's right. Maybe it was you calling Penny Sewell, and I said it's got to be a receiver because
it was Penny Sewell. Yeah,
because Detroit. I mean, they have nobody, and they didn't get anybody. I mean, they literally I had to pull it up and look exactly because I had it on my phone. I don't think Detroit actually took a wide receiver in the NFL draft.
So,
and they don't have.
They have nobody. They let all their.
Okay, talking about a team that never took a receiver. So talking about a team that decided to take a receiver in the first round when their linemen let their star quarterback blow his ACL
last year. Yeah.
And they were like, no, we don't need offensive linemen. We want a receiver, the freaking Bengals.
Cincinnati.
Don't know what they were
it was a pick before, wasn't it?
It was 2 picks before. It was Miami.
Detroit went at 7?
Yeah.
Okay.
Miami. It was.
Because I thought it went.
No, Miami was 6. Cincinnati was 5.
Okay, so it was. I was about to say, I thought it went receivers back to back. And then.
And I mean, Detroit didn't take a wide receiver until the 4th round. They let their top 2 wide receivers who make up 2,000 yards worth of production.
Where did he go to school and what is he? 4th round receivers don't usually.
Amon-Ra St. Brown he's from Southern California. He's actually a pretty good receiver. I mean, I remember his name
That's just
selectively.
Weird, receivers usually don't last that long. You know what I'm saying? They're usually picked up before that. I feel like.
But there are a lot of decent receivers compared to a lot of decent linemen.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or a good offensive lineman or harder to come by than a receiver you can train or somebody you can make.
Exactly. Like it kind of goes like what we're saying, like what your point pitches into what we're saying is you're better off going for the lineman in the first round than you are trying to say, hey, let's get a receiver, then hopefully we can get a decent lineman in the second and third round. Like those linemen are gonna be gone, son. Like you've got no shot.
Funny stat. And it's on the spectrum of what we're talking about. The highest percent of position that is re-signed after their first re-signed by the team that they're drafted by in the first round is offensive linemen. The lowest percent is receiver. 13% of receivers that are drafted in the first round actually sign their second contract with the same team. Yeah.
Also, I saw a stat that came through. I guess it was, on the NFL Instagram page. Penn State now has the most linebackers in the NFL.
That doesn't surprise me. Penn State produces linebackers. Not a question about it. Big Ten actually really produces a lot of linebackers. Like there are obviously,
like the Watt brothers?
those are defensive ends technically. But I mean, I understand that. But really,
TJ came out as a linebacker.
Yeah, TJ came out as a linebacker. He's a Russ South linebacker. But yeah, I mean, Penn State, the Big Ten, they produce a lot of solid. Now, where you see the real the speed talent is actually pretty much in the SEC and the Big 12. Like a lot of corners, a lot of safeties come out of those areas.
I say because Stokes ran like a 4.3.
Oh, congratulations! It doesn't matter if you can't cover anybody.
I know. I said the kid's fast as hell.
Congratulations.
He's got good chase down speed.
It's the same thing we talk about. The same thing we talk about when we were going to the mock draft is like the DB can be fast as hell, but also if he's 5 inches shorter than the receiver, like you brought up during that video, it was like it doesn't matter. He can keep up with him because that receiver's just going to be able to jump over him.
Yeah. I mean,
did you have any favorite picks from the first round that you looked at and you were like, man, that's a steal for that team, or like, man, that's going to be a really really good fit?
Bears
Justin Fields. First round, Justin Fields. Justin Fields fell down way past what I thought. Trey from North Dakota State.
Trey Lance, you like the pick to San Francisco?
Yeah, like I said in the video, I think he's gonna be like one of the next.
Oh, that's what you called. That's what you called. It was Trey Lance to San Francisco. I think that's what it was. When everybody.
But also, I think
I was a little bit inebriated that night.
I think we also called. Well, we called it at after pick 3. Once Trey Lance went to San Fran, we said 15. They're going Mac Jones. You know, Patriots. Mac Jones. Everybody
started at our house when it got to pick 11, and we saw who was between the pick on the board in New England. We were like, holy shit, Mac Jones is going to fall to New England.
Yeah. And it was like pick 3. I was sitting there with Christian, and because we were going back and forth as far as Trey Lance or Mac Jones to San Fran. I was still thinking Mac Jones.
I guess Belichick has to be super excited about getting Mac.
I think he probably
the dude's got to be he's just got to feel like a genius because all right. You saw Trey Lance go. I mean, for me, I'm sitting here going, okay, the moment Justin Fields comes off this board, I'm trading up to the next pick to get Matt Jones. Mm. And as soon as, he went off 11, I think is when Chicago got him. I've been, hey, Dallas, listen, I'm coming to get this guy, right? I just need to trade picks with you. Like, let's figure it out.
We need to swap. I don't care.
I would not have waited for that. But he knew. He's like, all right, Dallas doesn't need this guy, right? I think it's Minnesota was next after him, has Kirk Cousins, right? And I can't even remember who 14 was. I think it was Miami again. But didn't need him. And he was just like, hey, this is my guy right here. And the pick was in. It took him 50 seconds to put that bad boy in.
You saw, was it the 10-minute timer? You saw 8:57 pick.
I think between New England and Pittsburgh in the first round, those two, Pittsburgh and New England, had the quickest time to turn a draft pick. Because as soon as it went to Pittsburgh, it was, like 9:55. 9:40, pick is in. And it was Najee Harris. And then when New England it came up, it was like 9:45, pick is in.
Everybody. So I think they got who they wanted.
And they were patient. It's really, really, really well done. They were both very, very patient to go get the guy. They knew who they wanted, and they knew that the guys in front of them really.
They were kind of willing to kind of gamble a bit. Like, hey, we're gonna kind of hopefully teeter through this and
not have to trade up.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, for the most part, the teams that picked ahead of Pittsburgh, none of them were in dire need of a running.
From Washington did.
Pittsburgh at 24, the first 5 teams in front of them, 19, didn't need one. So all Pittsburgh had to do was make it to 19, 20.
I thought Washington at 19 was going to take a running back. I thought that was the moment.
Sketchy.
Yeah, that was the moment where it could have really.
But they could have very well taken Travis Etienne. And you still would have been.
What was crazy though is when Pittsburgh took Najee Harris, Jacksonville immediately
took Travis
Etienne.
Yeah,
they were like, "Oh God, all the running backs are going."
Yeah,
so just like any
fantasy draft.
League. Yeah. What did you pick first? Well, the first 12 picks were running backs.
Yeah,
yeah. So
or you jumped the gun and you took Aaron Rodgers in the first round of a fantasy draft.
Did y'all keep up with any of the following rounds?
I tried to watch the second round and
the only time I really paid attention was when you were giving me updates on the Steelers because
as far
as the second and third. After that, I just lose complete interest in those drafts.
After the when the 4th through the 7th were going on during the day, I didn't watch it.
Yeah,
but the 2nd and the 3rd that happened that Friday night, I was trying to keep up with what we got.
Yeah, same.
I didn't get to obviously look over every single pick. I kind of looked at where some of the quarterbacks went. I thought it was interesting that Kellen Mond went to Minnesota in the second round. Houston, I feel really, really bad for the Houston Texans. Obviously, Deshaun Watson is probably not going to play anymore for the Houston Texans. They didn't have a pick until the literal third round. Immediately took the top quarterback, and it was nobody. So, most of the quarterbacks are gone.
You've made trades to get rid of your first and second pick, and then that same year you're franchise quarterback is like, hey, I'm leaving. Yeah. You're trying to you have to bite the bullet on that.
Yeah. And then Kyle Trask going to Tampa, I think is really interesting. Obviously, Kyle Trask has a lot of talent. Sitting behind Tom Brady for a year or two, possibly. This could be really good for him personally, and for Tampa fans.
I thought, what do you think about Atlanta getting, Kyle Pitts at 4? At this point, at that point, it was taking the best available.
That was a shocker. Yeah.
That was the best available player.
We said the same thing at our house when we were watching.
And that is the best available player. That's what they drafted. So now, but
they didn't. They didn't need somebody in the receiving core.
But after the fact, they went. I guess whoever does draft grades, they gave Atlanta the number 1 draft class. They said Atlanta had the best draft class.
Well, I'm looking over it now. They took Richie Grant, which is one of the top 3 safeties from UCF, with the 8th pick in the second round. They took Jalen Mayfield, the offensive tackle from Michigan, in the third round, which is actually pretty great for them.
That's a steal.
We had Jalen Mayfield going to Baltimore at 30 in our mock draft. So this was a guy that was getting first round grades from a lot of guys. You're getting in the third round with the 4th pick of the third round. And then they took another corner, center, defense. They filled most of their defense out from there. So,
I think overall they actually did have a very good draft. But it was,
again, Kyle Pitts.
The first pick at Kyle Pitts was just shocking. They did not need a good receiving core.
But now, you're looking at having a.
Well, Atlanta fans now feel like that when they took Kyle Pitts, that's basically them saying, okay, we are going to trade Julio Jones now. Because they want to trade Julio Jones. They want to get Julio's contract up. They want to get rid of Matt Ryan, too. They want to get those big contracts off the books right now to kind of help them
start the
rebuild.
Yeah.
And
but at this time, I mean, you're looking at having now Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Kyle Pitts.
And Hayden Hurst.
And Hayden. Yeah. And Hayden was probably, I think his 40 is what? Top 3 quickest tight end 40 times probably
when he came out. I mean, he's still again a top 10 tight end in the NFL. So maybe this does mean did they trade Julio? I mean, New England's obviously interested,
but still,
Detroit needs wide receiver.
How big's Julio? 6'5",
6'4".
Yeah, and Kyle Pitts is 6'4". Calvin Ridley's what?
6'1".
I mean, you got a lot, and he's quick as hell too. I mean, you got a lot of
size.
6'5". So you got a lot of size out there in your receiving core. Yeah. That when you get to the red zone where they've had issues, they're like, all right, I'm going to throw it to my 3 options of 6'4" plus.
Yeah.
Go cover them.
Now we're going to win games 45-44, but I mean,
maybe.
I
don't know. What's his name? Koo, the kicker. Isn't that his name?
Yeah, Koo. Hey, listen, Koo's a good kicker.
Yeah. He'll give him some extra points in there, some more extra points, a couple field goals.
Don't knock Koo.
Pittsburgh drafted a punter. They'll be knocking.
They did.
Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
the 260 punter.
Yeah.
Boy's a unit.
Yeah, he is.
Hey, he's just saying he can take some shots. All right.
Yeah.
I had one thing that really stood out to me from the following days after the first round. I thought the Jets ended up. I know Atlanta, you say, got one of the highest grades or the highest grade. I thought the Jets did a really great job. I know you're somewhat of a UNC fan. You know Michael Carter. You knew Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
Michael Carter, the backup.
Oh, yep.
All right, so the number 2 running back at UNC last year. These were his college stats. This is who the Jets got with the 4th. I think it's the 3rd overall pick. No, the 2nd overall pick in the 4th round. This is who the Jets got. Michael Carter, 5'8", 202-pound running back from UNC, was a senior, so he's 22 years old. His senior year of college, he had 150 carries. He had 1,245 rushing yards. That's an average of 8 yards a carry. 9 touchdowns, basically 300 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns.
Expert, but 8 yards a carry is
it's pretty damn good.
That gonna get you paid in the NFL. I'll tell you that.
And this is somebody
that the NFL. You're a first ballot Hall of Famer. Best running back in the league to ever exist. Like,
I mean, what did Williams have? I mean, he was up there near the 1,200 yard mark as far as rushing.
He was too. Yeah, both of them were 1,000-yard rushers last year at North Carolina.
Wild.
So it was. I mean, that's a
steal for kind of a later round.
Fourth round. I mean, that is a steal, baby. That's a guy that can instantly help you, probably.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
if whether it's as a backup or either as a every down or 2 out of the 4 down back. You know, if you decide not to punt and you're like, hey, let's go for it on a 4th and 1, like I can get you 2 yards. I can get the first down.
Another cool thing that happened related to Michael Carter, the Jets make sure I'm saying this right. Yeah, in the 5th round, traded up to pick a safety out of Duke, Michael Carter II. This is the first time in NFL history
they've had Michael Carter and Michael Carter II.
Not just same names, but the same team drafted guys with the same names in the same year. Both were named Michael Carter.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Both being unrelated.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff.
Schools in North Carolina.
Well, I mean, they went to rival schools. Yeah.
Within 90 miles of each other?
Yeah, North Carolina and Duke. So that's pretty cool. Only other history that happened in this draft. I take that back. There's 2 other historical things that happened in this draft. The SEC, once again, had the most players drafted ever. They had 65 players drafted. It's the first time in the SEC's history that every single school, all 14 member schools, had at least 1 player drafted, which is pretty cool. And then Alabama.
Who did Vandy have?
Vandy had a safety drafted, I think.
Okay.
Or they had a defensive tackle drafted to Indianapolis.
I got you.
And Vandy actually had more people drafted. They had 2 people drafted. I take that back. 2 or 3 people drafted. They had more people drafted than Tennessee or Auburn. So, which was pretty cool.
I figured the receiver out of Auburn would have been
Cleveland took Anthony Schwartz.
Schwartz. That's it, Schwartz.
Yeah. And one final thing on the receivers as well, actually. Alabama became the first team in the history of football to have 2 wide receivers drafted in the first round in back-to-back years.
Yeah, I mean,
Jesus.
Yeah, Tua had a stable of 4 first-rounders.
Yeah.
To throw to it. Alabama.
Yeah, that was literally in the history of football. Alabama is the first team.
And Alabama also tied Miami's record
of 6 players getting drafted in the first round. Yep. Yeah. Crazy. I mean,
Alabama's just churning the talent out. That's why kids are going there.
How good?
You may not like Nick Saban's coaching, but you know the odds of you going to the NFL if you're in a skill position are freaking phenomenal.
How good was LSU in 2019?
Yeah.
To beat Alabama and go win a national championship, and now all these players are coming out of those teams. But that was just wild. So again, we had fun with it. We appreciate the views, and it was fun. We didn't get a whole lot right, but it was fun.